Human defecation remains a taboo subject, despite the fact that 2.5 million people lack a toilet. This causes a global health crisis that kills more than 1 million children each year. In the words of Val Curtis, the director of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, the Hygiene Centre, he says people do not talk about poo enough, and if we do not talk about poo, how are we going to solve the problem of diarrheal diseases? In East Africa, specifically in Uganda, at the Lake Victoria's Port Bell landing site in Luzira, the talk about human waste remains a taboo because people living here have not only failed to adhere to proper hand washing with soap habits. For more than 2,000 people doing business at this landing site, there is only one toilet stance operated only during the day. So what do these people use for toilets in the night?
Ina toilet eze tumala. Toilet yali ya mwalo, omwana gweyongerayo nefuka ya katali. Nikati omwalo gwa Port Bell tuli mu mbeera mbi tetulina ki.
The toilet is not enough for us. He BMU was responsible for it, but now we are many people in this landing site. We're in a sorry state. We asked the government to construct more toilets for us. When the septic tank is full, they release the feces because of high population. The toilet fills very fast. All these households depend on this toilet facility.
Tuli mu mbeera mbi nnyo toilet yemu. Tulina busobozi butuyamba ate twagikola ne bagitujjako ate nga twakolanga yaki ya mwalo.
Kale government yandituyambye ne tukolera toyi kuba tulina abaana baffe bajja kulwala.
Government should help us to build toilets because our children fall sick often. Our children suffer from diarrhea. They lack clean playing areas. You find fecal matter everywhere and our local council leaders know it. Since we come from different backgrounds, we cannot have a common goal for solving hygiene problems because some people do not comply as much as some of us may try. Others contaminate the place. We pay 200 shillings for each time an adult uses the toilet. So, if one fails to afford the fees, they go behind the marshes, even in broad daylight.
Nosanga ngowetolodde bw'otyo bangaawo nga bakamuyiwawo ssaawa eyo. Oli abulidde ezigenda, oli abulidde ekyokulya. Anaafuna ezigenda mu toyi.
Tukyabulamu okweyonja. Kuba n'omwala gwennyina gw'ogulaba. Eri tegutwala bulungi mazzi.
We have health issues as women. Sharing a dirty toilet with men and children causes infections. When you squat to ease yourself, you get infections. Our anatomy is quite different from that of men. Our environment is dirty, and our children play in the dirty places.
Awona wachafu ziwe tusingana era nobeerawo ng'owulya ekitundu kikuwunyirira omwala guwunya tegiba gukigola nani ngola bano munnange kati wayi tasula buki bulungi ebuziwe tusingana.
As As populations grow, resource use increases in the line with changes in people's aspirations, values and socio-economic status. Rural to urban migration is a challenge that Uganda, just like other countries in the East African community, are grappling with. Demographics that play an important role in mitigating or exacerbating the country's prospects for development and the well-being of its people, especially for those living around Lake Victoria and other water bodies. What do the policies tell in regard to hygiene along water bodies?
The government should sensitize communities to own up this thing, to know that the livelihood is derived from the people. If everybody just talks politics, what, we are talking about non-issues, when the other critical issues, we avoid them. That's very bad. Because if you make a survey around all the whole river as it goes, you find that one, poor sanitary facilities. So, and again, the ecosystem on the lake, people have encroached on the banks of the river. If the government owns maybe 200 meters from any water body, what is being done on the water bodies? For example, take an example here. You see all this rubbish? People are making a livelihood, much as it is maybe private property, but the government should come in and maybe regulate. Like they regulate on the landing site. You don't defecate anywhere you find. There are gazetted places where you can bathe, where the toilets are waterborne.
Driven by very high fertility rate of 6.7 children per woman, Uganda's population has more than tripled in the past 40 years, from 9.5 million in 1969 to 32.9 million in 2011. The large population also requires more key services, including sanitation, housing, transport, energy, education and employment, among others. Demographic pressures also affect the environment and compound the impacts of climate change, especially in the Lake Victoria Basin, where many people come to eke a living from fisheries and water transport businesses. As the population grows, more services are required. Port Bell, Luzira faces a challenge of a single-stance toilet facility. Poor disposal of industrial and domestic waste has resulted in extensive pollution of the aquatic systems.
People here throw garbage in the lake. The issue of cleaning the market is the responsibility of the market chairman and the beach management unit.
Human waste, through a broken pipe, radially flows through the trenches to enter Lake Victoria. This practice has been blamed for providing conducive environment for the thriving of the water hyacinth on Lake Victoria.
Lake Victoria experiences a lot of pollution arising from several activities and factors. One, there is huge pollution of the lake arising from poor agricultural practices in the upper catchment. And this leads to a lot of erosion of nutrients and the use of fertilizers. So the nutrients pour into the lake in huge loads due to soil erosion because the rapid growth of water hyacinth. So water hyacinth actually feeds on the nutrients that comes from soil erosion arising from poor agricultural practices in the upper catchment areas. Secondly, the rapid urbanization around the Lake Victoria Basin. You'll realize that there are several key towns that are actually located around the lake basin. For example, there's Mwanza in Tanzania, Kampala in Uganda, there's Kisumu in Kenya, and there's also Musoma in Tanzania. These towns are rapidly growing, and actually the current growth is estimated at 3 to 5%. And you'll realize that the facilities or the infrastructure, especially for waste management in these towns, are those that were constructed back in the days. So they are actually overstretched at the moment, and they are unable to meet the ever-increasing numbers of populations that migrate into these towns. This factor has also led to poor waste management in these towns. leading to discharge of raw sewage. In most cases, raw sewage is actually discharged into the lake. This is a factor that is also contributing to the rapid growth of water hyacinth. As you'll realize, water hyacinth basically feeds on the nutrients. If the lake will be pure and clean, the water hyacinth will not survive in it. But it feeds on the nutrients that come from the agricultural practices in the catchment, and also the wastes that are discharged into the lake from the urban towns or the towns that are located in the Lake Victoria basin.
According to the National Environment Management Authority State of the Environment 2008 report for Uganda, the main source of pollution is wastewater discharge from industry and the city. The largest quantity of wastewater is untreated sewage from Kampala. The level of compliance with national wastewater discharge standards is estimated at only 40%. Harriet Navakinga tells us of the health challenges in this community.
There are many people here, especially during the market days on Mondays and Thursdays. There are close to 2,000 people, but we have only one toilet, for which adults pay 200 shillings and children pay 100 shillings. Sometimes the toilet is very dirty. Even after paying money, they do not mind its hygiene.
There are ecological threats to aquatic and human life in and around Lake Victoria, which is Africa's largest lake and the largest tropical lake in the world. This lake is also a major climate modulator in the region, responsible for an average annual rainfall of 1,400 millimeters. The discharge of untreated sewage to the lake is a major cause of algae flourishing. The discharge of phosphorus to waterways from domestic waste, runoff from towns, sewage and industrial discharges cause algae to flourish and bloom. Algal blooms are dense growth of algae forming scams over the water surface. So far, there are 600 species of algae in aquatic ecosystems of the Lake Victoria basin, posing health risks such as body itching and diarrhea. Due to the population in the lake, communities around Lake Victoria also suffer from waterborne diseases such as hepatitis, caused by fecal contamination of water by viruses, dysentery, caused by bacteria, cholera caused by fecal contamination, and the bacterium of Vibrio cholera, typhoid caused by bacteria, and salmonella. All are infections that affect people living within and around the Lake Victoria basin. Potential remedies of human waste management challenges are through substantial livelihood interventions that empower local people to substantially utilize available resources. One of such interventions is the use of the ecological sanitation toilets, also known as EcoSan toilets. Less than 10% of 2 million people in Kampala are served by the public sewer system run by the National Water and Sewerage Corporation. As a result, more than 800,000 people in the urban slums are facing deplorable sanitation and environmental problems. Sarah Kisolo explains this new approach of using EcoSan toilets.
Now, for toilets of fecal matter, managing it in such waterlogged areas, there's this new technology of EcoSan. We are promoting EcoSan, and EcoSan is a simple technology that when somebody is being educated or has been educated, it controls, because it's about recycling waste and reusing it. You go to the toilet, an EcoSan toilet, especially those people who are not connected to the sewer, the main sewerage of the city. They'll construct an EcoSan toilet, which is an innovative technology, and that the feces that will go in that toilet will be removed and be reused for improving the soil productivity, fertility, for improved productivity in the gardens, and getting higher yields. We have done this in Katwe. People are taking out the feces, they are selling off the urine, and they are getting money out of it. And also the people buying are improving on their soils and also realizing higher yields. We are doing the same project in Busia district along the Lake Victoria area, landing sites in the areas of Majanji and Madno landing sites.